Every one of us goes through our day, feeling like we're falling behind, like we're failing, weak, or broken. Even great people like Einstein, Oprah, and Elon Musk felt the same. You're not alone, and you're not the problem. Your mind is. In this video, we're going to expose the mind traps the greatest people in history have fallen for, and how you can harness your greatness and break free from your mental prison. Mind traps are automatic, irrational thought patterns. They twist your perception without you realizing it. They make small problems feel massive. They turn self-doubt into truth. They keep you anxious, stuck, and second-guessing yourself. And the worst part? Your brain creates them on purpose. It's not because you're weak or broken. It's because your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Let's go back, way back, to a time when survival meant constantly scanning for threats. Your brain evolved to keep you alive, not happy. That's where the negativity bias comes in. Your mind pays more attention to danger, pain, and mistakes, because ignoring them could have been fatal. Even now, it's wired to focus on what's wrong, instead of what's working. Then there's cognitive load. Your brain is lazy, in a way. It wants to save energy. So instead of carefully thinking things through, it takes shortcuts. That's when mind traps slip in. They're quick, automatic, and familiar, even if they're wrong, even if they hurt you. There's also your ego's need for protection. Your brain will do anything to avoid pain, shame, or failure. So it builds defense mechanisms. It's not my fault. They're just lucky. I wasn't trying anyway. It's not truth. It's armor. And then there's the past. Emotional memories. Trauma loops. If your mind has been wounded, even years ago, it remembers. Not just the facts, but the feelings. So when something reminds you of old pain, your brain reacts automatically, as if the threat is still real. You're not reacting to the moment. You're reacting to the memory. Finally, sometimes your brain chooses familiar suffering over unfamiliar freedom, because it feels safer. You already know how to survive this kind of pain. You've learned to live with it. And that little voice says, better the devil you know. So yes, your mind falls into these traps. Not because it's broken, but because it's trying to protect you. With outdated tools. The good news? Now you know. And what you can see, you can start to change. All or nothing thinking. This is the trap of extremes. There's no middle ground. No room for effort, growth, or progress. If your performance isn't perfect, your brain labels it a total failure. You miss one day at the gym, and suddenly, the whole month is ruined. You get one criticism, and forget every compliment you've ever received. There's no good enough. No, I'm improving. Only, I nailed it, or I'm worthless. It's the kind of thinking that kills motivation, because if you're not winning, what's the point of playing at all? Catastrophizing. This is where your brain becomes a disaster movie director. Every problem? A crisis. Every mistake? The end of the world. You get a bad grade and convince yourself your future is ruined. A text goes unanswered. And you spiral into stories of rejection and abandonment. Your mind doesn't pause to check the facts. It jumps to the worst-case scenario and lives there. Even small issues feel overwhelming, because your brain is trained to expect the worst so it can prepare you. But what it really does is paralyze you. Mind reading. You assume you know what other people are thinking, and it's never good. You walk into a room and feel like everyone's judging you. You speak up in a meeting and convince yourself people think you sounded stupid. Your friend seems quiet, and suddenly you're sure they're mad at you. But here's the truth. You're not hearing their thoughts. You're projecting your own fears. Mind reading isn't insight. It's insecurity with a microphone, and it's loud enough to drown out reality. Fortune telling. This is the trap of predicting failure before you've even tried. Your brain skips over the present and races ahead to a painful ending it invented. You don't apply for the job because they'll never pick me. You don't ask for help because they'll think I'm weak. You don't start the project because it'll probably flop. But none of this is truth. It's a story written by fear, not fact. And the more you believe it, the more it becomes your reality. Overgeneralization. One bad moment becomes a lifelong sentence. You fail once and say, I always mess things up. One person hurts you, and suddenly you can't trust anyone. One door closes, and your brain tells you, nothing ever works out for me. This trap turns isolated pain into permanent identity. It magnifies the negative and erases the positive. Over time, it convinces you that your struggle isn't temporary. It's who you are. But that's the lie. You're not doomed. You're just caught in a loop. And now that you see it, you can break it. Mental filtering. You get 10 compliments and one piece of criticism. Guess which one your brain clings to? You could have a good day, but one awkward moment, one mistake, and it's like the whole day is ruined. Your mind zooms in on the negative and erases everything else. Yeah, sure, I did well on the project, but I stuttered in that one meeting. People said they liked it, but they were probably just being polite. This trap turns your life into a broken mirror. Every reflection shows what's wrong. You never get to see the whole picture, just the cracks, disqualifying the positive. Even when good things happen, your brain refuses to believe them. Someone says, you did amazing, and you think, they're just being nice. You land the job and whisper, they probably didn't have better options. Success feels like a mistake. Praise feels like a lie. And happiness? It never fully lands. Because in your mind, you don't deserve it. I got lucky. They don't really know me. If they did, they'd take it all back. This trap keeps the good out, no matter how much you've earned it. Emotional reasoning. This is one of the sneakiest traps because it feels true. If you feel anxious, then something must be wrong. If you feel unlovable, then you must be unlovable. If you feel like a failure, well, your brain says, that must mean I am one. I feel scared, so this must be dangerous. I feel sad, so I must be broken. I feel like it's hopeless. So it probably is. But emotions aren't facts. They're weather. They change and they pass. And if you let your feelings define your reality, you'll always live in the storm. Should statements. This is the trap of self-punishment. Your brain becomes a drill sergeant. No mercy. No forgiveness. I should have known better. I should have tried harder. I should be further along by now. Every should is a whip. Every sentence carries shame. It turns your goals into guilt, your hopes into regrets, your growth into a personal failure. You're not inspiring yourself. You're slowly wearing yourself down. You're not broken. You're just tired from all the ways you beat yourself up. Labeling. This one hits deep. Because it doesn't attack what you did, it attacks who you are. You make a mistake, and your brain slaps on a label. I'm a loser. I'm a failure. I'm worthless. One bad moment becomes your whole identity. I messed up equals I'm messed up. I failed equals I am a failure. There's no room for context, no compassion, no possibility of change. This trap freezes you in the worst version of yourself and convinces you that's all you'll ever be. But here's the truth. You are not your worst day. You are not one thought, one flaw, or one label. You're more than that, even if your mind doesn't let you see it yet. Personalization. Something goes wrong? Your brain whispers, it's your fault. Someone's in a bad mood? You must have said something wrong. Your coworker missed a deadline? You didn't follow up enough. You turn every bad event into a reflection of your own failure. It doesn't matter if it's out of your control. Your brain makes you the villain of every story. I should have known better. I always ruin everything. It's not just exhausting, it's dangerous. Because eventually, you stop trying altogether. Externalization. The opposite trap, but just as deadly. This time, nothing is your fault. Ever. You blame your past, your boss, your partner, the economy, the weather, the algorithm. If they had supported me, I'd be thriving. If life were fair, I'd be successful. There's always something or someone standing in your way. It feels comforting. But it's a cage, because when everything is outside your control, so is your power to change. Comparative thinking. Welcome to the most toxic game you never meant to play, comparison. You scroll, you watch, you envy. Everyone else is ahead, smarter, happier, richer, more fulfilled. They've figured it out. I haven't. Look at their life and look at mine. But you're comparing your behind the scenes to their highlight reel. It's a rigged game, and your self-worth is the prize you keep losing. Confirmation bias. You don't see the world as it is. You see the world as you already believe it to be. And if you think you're unworthy, your brain will cherry-pick every sign to prove it. They didn't reply, they must hate me. He looked away, he thinks I'm a joke. Even if 9 things go right, you'll cling to the one that confirms your fear. You're not searching for truth. You're building a case against yourself. Negativity bias. Your brain is wired to protect you, so it looks for danger constantly. That's why you remember the insult, not the compliment. The loss, not the win. The pain, not the peace. Of course I failed. Things never work out for me. You could live a day full of beauty, but one minor setback and your brain screams, everything is terrible. This trap kept your ancestors alive. But now, it just keeps you afraid. Victim mentality. When life gets hard, this trap tells you, there's nothing you can do. You stop fighting. You stop hoping. You start expecting disappointment and preparing for the worst. What's the point? Nothing changes. Why even try? Life just happens to me. It's not that you're weak. It's that your power has been hidden under layers of pain and hopelessness. And now, you've forgotten it was ever there. Perfectionism. Here, nothing is ever good enough. Not your work. Not your body. Not your life. Not you. You set the bar impossibly high. Then beat yourself up for not reaching it. This could be better. I messed up again. It's not ready yet. And even when you succeed, you don't feel joy. Only relief. Then pressure to do it all again better. This trap doesn't drive greatness. It drives burnout and self-hate, fear of success. Weird, right? But sometimes, winning is more terrifying than failing. Because success means pressure, visibility, expectations, more to lose. What if I can't keep it up? What if they find out I'm a fraud? What if I become someone I don't recognize? So you self-sabotage? Not because you're scared to fail, but because you're scared to shine. Over-identifying with thoughts. You don't just have thoughts. You believe them. You become them. A thought pops up, I'm worthless. And your mind doesn't question it. It agrees. It builds a story around it. It becomes your reality. But thoughts aren't always true. They're just echoes. From pain, fear, memory, habit. You are not your thoughts. But this trap convinces you otherwise. Binary thinking. Good or bad. Success or failure. Worthy or unworthy. All or nothing. This trap sees only black or white, no gray. No middle ground. No nuance. No grace. If I can't do it perfectly, I shouldn't try. If they don't love me, they must hate me. This kind of thinking splits the world in two and makes you pick a side. Usually the wrong one. But life is more complex. And healing happens in the gray. Assumed intent. You walk into a room. Someone doesn't smile. Your brain whispers, they hate you. No proof. No facts. Just fear. You assume they meant to hurt you. A look becomes a judgment. A word becomes an attack. You rewrite reality based on invisible threats. Now you're tense, defensive, guarded. You push people away before they get the chance. And deep down, you're not protecting yourself. You're just scared of being misunderstood. But what if no one's thinking what you think they're thinking? Fallacy of fairness. You did the right thing. You followed the rules. So why does life feel like it's punishing you? You cry out, this isn't fair. And maybe it isn't. But fairness isn't a law. It's a story. And your brain uses it to justify your pain. It convinces you that injustice means the world is broken. That you're owed something now. And every time life doesn't deliver, you spiral. Rage turns inward. Or explodes outward. Because you weren't just hurt. You were betrayed by an invisible contract life never signed. Control fallacy. You feel like a puppet. or the puppeteer. Either way, the strings are tangled. If things go wrong, it's out of your hands. Or worse, it's all your fault. You swing between helplessness and hypercontrol. I can't fix this becomes a cage. I must fix this becomes a burden. But both lie to you. Because control isn't all or nothing. It's a dance between what you influence and what you surrender. And until you learn that dance, you'll keep tripping on your own expectations. Heaven's reward fallacy. You suffer in silence. You endure, hoping someone's keeping score. You'll see. You whisper, this pain will pay off. But nothing changes. No reward. No recognition. Just more struggle. Your brain sold you a bargain. Endure now, rejoice later. But life doesn't always work like that. Hard work doesn't guarantee a trophy. And pain doesn't promise meaning. So you either redefine what reward means to you, or you keep waiting for a redemption that may never come. Passive hope. You stare at the ceiling, waiting for something to change. You believe hope is enough, that wishing is a plan. But your brain confuses fantasy with forward motion. So you sit still while time moves past you. I hope things get better becomes a lullaby. But hope without action is just spiritual procrastination. And while you wait for the world to shift, your life slips by. You're not lazy. You've just mistaken patience for progress. And it's time to wake up. Hyper-responsibility. You carry the weight of everyone's world. Their moods, their pain, their problems. If they're hurting, it must be your fault. You become the fixer, the rescuer, the emotional sponge. You apologize when things go wrong, even when they don't. Your brain believes love means sacrifice. So you shrink yourself to lift others up. You think, if I'm not helping, I'm failing. But you're not a god. You're a human. You can care without collapsing. You can support without surrendering. The guilt you feel isn't kindness, it's control disguised as love. And it's slowly erasing you. Rumination. You replay the moment again and again. What you said, what they said, what you should have said. You call it thinking, but it's not. It's a mental treadmill going nowhere. Your brain is trying to solve pain by drowning in it. You're fixing it. It whispers, keep going. But there's no solution, just looping torture. Rumination feels productive, but it steals your present to rewatch your past. And the more you watch, the worse the scene becomes. You weren't meant to live inside regrets. You were meant to learn and let go. Self-handicapping. You delay the project. You don't study for the test. You go out the night before the interview. You already know the excuse you'll use. Because if you fail, hey, at least you didn't try. It protects your ego. Because trying and failing feels worse than failing on purpose. But deep down, you want to succeed. You're just terrified of what it would mean. What if you gave your all and still weren't enough? So you sabotage yourself. Not because you don't believe in success, but because you can't bear to meet your true potential and still be rejected. Tunnel vision. You lock onto one problem, one mistake, one flaw, one person. Everything else fades away. Your focus becomes obsession, and your brain shuts out the bigger picture. You say, this is all that matters. But it's not. It never was. Tunnel vision turns small fires into infernos. It blinds you to options, to hope, to help. It traps you in a narrow hallway of panic. But the truth? If you just look left or right, there's a door and a way out. Motivated reasoning. You twist facts without realizing. You ignore evidence that doesn't fit your story. Your brain wants to feel right, not be right. So it searches for proof that comforts, not challenges. You become a lawyer for your fear and a blindfolded judge for your growth. I just know, you say. But you don't. You want to believe. So you convince yourself of half-truths, even lies, if they feel safe. But comfort isn't clarity, and being right isn't always being real. Truth begins where your bias ends. Blame shifting. Everything is someone else's fault. Your boss, your parents, your ex. You point the finger, and for a moment, you feel free. Because blaming others protects your pride. It saves you from the sting of self-reflection. But here's the cost. You give away your power. If it's their fault, it can't be your change. Growth needs ownership. But blame builds walls around your own evolution. You tell yourself, I didn't do this. But deep down, part of you knows, even if it wasn't all your fault, your healing still belongs to you. Magical thinking. You believe your thoughts shape reality. If I think positively, everything will be fine. If I imagine the worst, I'll protect myself. It feels mystical, powerful, safe. But thoughts alone don't change the world. They can guide action or paralyze it. Magical thinking is seductive. It says you can skip the hard parts. You manifest without effort. You protect yourself by worrying. But energy isn't enough without intention. And intention is hollow without motion. Change begins not just in the mind, but in what you do. False consensus effect. You think everyone sees the world like you do. Same logic. Same values. Same fears. So when someone disagrees, you feel attacked. You assume they're wrong, or broken, or cruel. But your mind is trapped in a mirror. It reflects you onto everyone else. And when reality hits, you panic. Because if you aren't the default, maybe your ideas aren't universal. Maybe people live in different truths. And maybe, just maybe, your way isn't the only way. Empathy begins when you stop assuming and start listening. The spotlight effect. You walk into a room and feel naked. Like every eye is on you. Every mistake amplified. Every flaw under a microscope. But here's the truth. Most people are too busy worrying about themselves. Your brain creates a stage that doesn't exist. A theater of judgment with you in the spotlight. So you overthink. You shrink. All because of a lie. That everyone sees what you see in the mirror. But the truth is, they don't. They're not watching you. They're trying to survive themselves. Sunk cost fallacy. You've invested time, money, love, and now it's falling apart. But you can't walk away because your brain says you've come too far. So you stay in bad jobs, in dying relationships, in broken dreams, not because it's working, but because quitting feels like losing. But staying stuck is the loss. Your past investment is gone either way. The question is, will you lose more by staying? Or start fresh and reclaim your future? Doom scrolling trap. You pick up your phone for a quick check. One headline leads to another. Suddenly, it's an hour later, and you're drowning in bad news. Your heart races. Your mood sinks. You tell yourself, I need to stay informed. But it's not information, it's an addiction to anxiety. Each story feeds your fear, not your knowledge. You can't look away, even as it hurts. The world feels darker, more dangerous. You feel helpless, overwhelmed. But remember, stepping back isn't ignorance. It's self-care. You can stay aware without sacrificing your peace. Choose boundaries over burnout. Urgency fallacy. Everything feels like a 5-alarm fire. Emails marked urgent flood your inbox. Your to-do list screams for attention. But not everything is a crisis. Your brain confuses urgency with importance. You rush, react, and rarely reflect. Decisions made in haste often lead to regret. You feel productive, but are you effective? Pause. Breathe. Prioritize. Not all tasks deserve immediate action. Distinguish between what's pressing and what's meaningful. Reclaim your time from false emergencies. Let purpose, not panic, drive you. Delayed life syndrome. You say, I'll be happy when you get the job, the house, the partner. But each milestone moves the goalpost. Happiness remains just out of reach. You defer joy, waiting for the perfect moment. But life isn't a rehearsal, it's happening now. Perfection is a moving target. Chasing it means missing the present. Celebrate small wins. Find contentment in the journey, not just the destination. Your life isn't on hold, it's unfolding. Don't wait to live. Embrace the now. FOMO, fear of missing out. You're scrolling through highlight reels. Everyone's at parties, on vacations, living their best lives. You feel left out, inadequate. But remember, social media is a curated illusion. People share moments, not realities. Your worth isn't measured by others' experiences. Chasing every event leads to exhaustion. Missing out isn't failure, it's freedom. Freedom to choose what matters to you. Embrace JOMO, the joy of missing out. Find peace in your own path. Comparison steals joy, presence restores it. Live your life, not someone else's. Decision paralysis. Too many choices. You analyze every option, fearing the wrong one. Time passes, and decisions remain unmade. You feel stuck, overwhelmed. Perfectionism fuels indecision, but inaction is a decision itself. No choice is risk-free. Progress requires movement, even if imperfect. Set a deadline. Trust your instincts. Learn from outcomes, adjust as needed. Clarity comes through action, not overthinking. Don't let fear freeze you. Choose, act, grow. Overplanning trap. You make the perfect plan. Color-coded, organized, full of details. You feel a rush of control, of purpose. But days go by, and nothing is done. You keep tweaking the blueprint. Because planning feels safer than doing. No risk, no rejection, just preparation. But action is messy, uncertain, real. Your plan won't protect you from discomfort. It's a map, not the journey. Progress doesn't come from thinking, it comes from movement. Start small. Start ugly. A bad step forward beats a perfect standstill. Emotional contagion. You're in a great mood until you're not. Someone walks in angry, anxious, drained. Suddenly, you feel it too. No words exchanged, just energy transferred. This is emotional contagion. You absorb others' emotions like a sponge. Their chaos becomes your storm, and you don't even notice it happening. You think, what's wrong with me? But it's not always your emotion to carry. Learn to feel without absorbing. Observe without becoming. Protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Hindsight bias. After the fall, you say, I should have known. But you didn't. You couldn't. Back then, you made the best decision with what you knew. But your brain rewrites the past like a cruel editor. It pretends the signs were obvious. It shames you for not seeing what wasn't clear. This is hindsight bias, and it steals compassion from your past self. You weren't stupid. You were learning. Mistakes are not proof of failure. They're proof of growth. Let go of the illusion of perfect foresight. You're wiser now because you weren't back then. Learned helplessness. You've tried before and failed. So now, you don't even try. Why bother, right? This is learned helplessness. When effort feels pointless, you surrender. You believe life is happening to you, not with you. But that belief is a cage. Just because the past hurt doesn't mean the future will repeat it. You are not the same person you were. You know more. You can do more. Power returns the moment you reach for it. Try again, differently. You're not helpless. You're healing. Identity attachment. You tell yourself, I'm the shy one. Or, I'm just not creative. These aren't truths. They're labels you've worn for too long. Identity becomes a prison disguised as personality. You cling to the familiar, even when it limits you. But you are not one fixed thing. You are fluid, evolving, expanding. Let go of the roles you've outgrown. You don't have to be who you've always been. It's okay to surprise yourself. Growth means becoming someone new. And that starts by questioning who you think you are. Your identity isn't a life sentence. It's a draft in progress. Status trap. You feel good. Only when you're admired. When your post gets likes. When your name gets applause. When someone says, you're impressive. But the moment that fades, so do you. This is the status trap. You tie your worth to your ranking. Your soul becomes a scoreboard. You chase validation, not fulfillment. And even when you win, it never feels like enough. Because you don't need more status. You need inner stillness. When you're proud of yourself quietly, that's real power. Fake urgency trap. You feel a rush, something must be done now. Emails, notifications, demands. Your nervous system screams, emergency. But is it? Really? This is the fake urgency trap. You confuse pressure for purpose. You run around, reacting instead of choosing. Your time gets hijacked by noise. You feel busy, but not alive. Important work gets buried under fake emergencies. The truth is, urgency is not the same as meaning. Slow down. Real purpose waits quietly, not frantically. Desirability bias. You want it to be true, so your brain helps you believe it is. You ignore red flags. You highlight anything that supports your hope. This is desirability bias. Your mind chooses comfort over clarity. It dresses dreams up as facts. But wishful thinking can wreck reality. You deserve truth, not illusions. Hope is beautiful, but not when it blinds. Let your heart hope, but let your eyes stay sharp. Clarity hurts less than betrayal. What you want isn't always what's real. Overexposure trap. You scroll for hours. You binge. You refresh. You consume. But the more you see, the less you feel. This is the overexposure trap. Your senses get numbed by noise. Nothing surprises you. Nothing moves you. You crave more, but enjoy less. Constant input dulls your clarity. You confuse stimulation for satisfaction. But joy lives in the pauses, not the feed. Turn down the volume of the world, so you can hear yourself again. The self-help trap. You read the books, watch the videos, highlight the quotes. You know the language of growth, but you're still stuck. This is the self-help trap. You mistake knowing for doing. You collect tools, but never build. You think you're healing, but you're avoiding. Because real change hurts. It's not aesthetic. It's messy, painful, silent. The next chapter of your life won't be found in a book. It starts when you get uncomfortable enough to act. You've seen the traps. One by one, they've crawled out of the shadows. Some felt familiar. Some felt like home. And maybe, just maybe, you've realized. You've been living in one without even knowing it. But awareness. That's where freedom begins. So how do you break out? First, name the trap. Not in judgment. Not in shame. Just call it out. This is catastrophizing. This is emotional reasoning. Give it a name, and suddenly, it loses its grip. You are no longer inside the thought. You're observing it. And that shift, that's power. Second, challenge the thought. Ask it, is this true? Is this always true? What's the evidence? You'll be surprised how many of your most painful thoughts crumble under a little questioning. Just because it feels real doesn't make it fact. Third, reframe it. Change the lens. You don't have to pretend everything's fine. Just shift the script. Instead of, I failed, I'm useless. Try, I failed, and that's how I grow. Reframing isn't lying to yourself. It's telling the whole story, not just the part that hurts. Fourth, interrupt the pattern. Get up, move, shake your body, write it out. Take a deep breath and feel your feet on the floor. Pattern interrupts remind the brain. You are not trapped. You are alive, and you can choose again. Fifth, anchor with a mantra. A phrase you can come back to when the mind spirals. This is a trap, not a truth. Say it, breathe it, believe it. Because sometimes you don't need to solve the storm. You just need to remember it's passing through. The truth is, your brain will never stop setting traps. It was built for survival, not peace. But you don't have to keep falling for them. You're allowed to pause, to question, to reroute. So, which trap showed up in your life today? Was it the fear of success? The should voice in your head? That invisible pressure to be perfect? Tell me in the comments. Because once you name it, you can start to outgrow it. And if this helped you escape, just a little subscribe. There's more where this came from. And share this with someone who's trapped and doesn't even know it yet. You've made it this far. That's not an accident. It's the start of something better.